The interview room was too bright. Cold fluorescent lights hummed overhead, bouncing off the glossy glass table and sterile gray walls. A panel of 4 hiring managers sat across from a young woman, her posture straight, hands folded tightly in her lap. Her name was Sasha Lin. She had arrived 10 minutes early, worn her only blazer, practiced her answers all night, and now she was being judged like a misfiled document. The woman at the center of the panel, Gina, sleek, commanding, emotionally bulletproof, flipped through Sasha's resume with deliberate slowness. The others said nothing. "Your GPA is decent," Gina finally said, not looking up. "But we typically recruit from Ivy League backgrounds." "Where did you go again?" "Cal State Fullerton," Sasha said quickly. "I double majored in computer science and applied ethics. I also led a team that won a state level." Gina raised a hand. "That's fine. We just value pedigree here." Sasha blinked. "I see." Another man on the panel, Jason, cocky and barely interested, muttered under his breath, "Still don't get how she got through pre-screen." Gina chuckled softly. Sasha's voice cracked slightly. "I submitted a project on ethical AI that was published." "I'm sure you did," Gina interrupted. "But we're a culture-first company, meaning we hire people who fit." She smiled, all teeth. Outside the glass wall, in the waiting area, a man in a simple black T-shirt sat silently, thumbing through a magazine. No one noticed him, but he noticed everything. The way Sasha's smile faltered with every interruption. The way the panel barely masked their bias with buzzwords. The way none of them had asked her a single question about what she cared about, only where she came from. That man, Keanu Reeves, he wasn't there for an interview. He wasn't on the schedule. He wasn't even supposed to be in the building. But he'd been invited by a friend, a silent partner, to observe the people-first culture of this rising tech firm. He had quietly walked in an hour ago, and now he sat and watched as the wolves in business casual circled someone with more talent than all of them combined. The interview dragged on, not in time, but in dignity. Sasha sat straighter now, hiding the quiver in her voice behind professionalism. Gina flipped a pen between her fingers like a baton of power. One of the other managers, Elliot, finally spoke. He looked down at her resume as if it were written in a foreign language. "You don't have any internships at major firms?" "I worked through college," Sasha answered calmly. "Full-time. My family." Gina cut in. "That's admirable. But we're looking for candidates who can balance." Jason laughed once low and sharp. Sasha blinked. "I did balance. I graduated with honors while holding 2 jobs." Gina didn't flinch. "You're clearly driven," she said. "But this company is fast-paced, high exposure. We need people who won't crack under pressure. And frankly," her eyes lingered on Sasha's warm blazer, "you don't look ready." Outside the glass, Keanu closed the magazine gently and set it down. His eyes never left Sasha. He wasn't angry. He didn't glare. But something in his posture shifted, the kind of stillness that happens before a wave breaks. He stood, quietly, walked to the receptionist. "Excuse me," he said. "Is your head of operations in today?" The receptionist, young, distracted, looked up and blinked 3 times before realizing who she was speaking to. Why, yes, sir. I think so. Would you like me to?" Keanu smiled gently. "No need to announce me. I know the way." Back in the interview room, Sasha was gathering her things. She hadn't been dismissed yet, but the message had already been sent. The slow suffocation of no, without ever saying the word. She stood, bowed slightly. "Thank you for your time." Gina gave a diplomatic smile. "We'll be in touch." Jason snorted. "You mean HR will?" Sasha paused. Her knuckles whitened around her folder. She nodded once. "Right." Then she turned, walked out, and pulled the door gently shut behind her. Keanu stepped aside as she passed through the hallway. Their eyes met, only for a second. But in that second, she saw him. Not the celebrity. Just a man. Steady. Watching. And somehow on her side. The door was still settling in its frame when Keanu Reeves walked into the interview room. No knock. No fanfare. Just calm footsteps and a presence that immediately changed the air. Gina glanced up, confused. Jason did a double take. Elliot straightened his posture, like a student caught sleeping. "Can we help you?" Gina asked, already bristling under the surface of her practiced professionalism. Keanu smiled gently. "I hope so." He walked in like he had every right to be there, which, ironically, he did. Before Gina could speak again, he gestured toward the now empty chair across from them. Sasha's chair. "I just watched a candidate walk out of this room," he said. "Bright girl. Sharp eyes. Spoke with clarity." Gina folded her hands. "This is a private meeting, Mr. Reeves." "I know," he replied, "but it stopped being private when it became instructive." Jason forced a laugh. "Wait, are you here about her?" Keanu turned to him, not with anger, just stillness. That was somehow worse. "I just have a question," he said. "What exactly disqualified her?" The room froze. Gina's eyes narrowed slightly. "Mr. Reeves, we appreciate your interest, but this company has a rigorous culture and standards." "Of course," Keanu said softly. "That's why I'm asking. What were those standards?" She paused. "We look for candidates who fit our pace, our polish." "And where in the resume?" Keanu asked gently. "Was that written?" No answer. Elliot cleared his throat. "We prioritize experience from top-tier institutions." "She worked through college," Keanu replied. "Double major. Honors. No gaps. You dismissed her because she didn't come wrapped in the packaging you're used to." Jason leaned back, folding his arms. "With respect, Mr. Reeves, you're not part of our hiring process." "No," Keanu said, "but I was invited to observe the culture here. And culture," he added, "is clearest when people think no one's watching." That landed. Hard. Gina opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Keanu took a breath. "Calm. Even. You don't need to hire her," he said. "You've already shown who you are." Then he turned and walked out. Downstairs in the lobby, Sasha stood near the elevator, hugging her folder like a shield. Her eyes were glassy, but she hadn't let the tears fall. Not yet. She turned when she heard footsteps. Keanu approached slowly. "I left something in that room," he said. She tilted her head, confused. "What was that?" He smiled. "A mirror." The sun was beginning to set through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the tech firm's top floor. Keanu stepped into a private office, minimalist, sleek, but lived in. The desk was tidy, the espresso machine still warm. Inside sat a woman in her early 50s, glasses perched on her nose, typing quickly. Naomi Park, the actual co-founder, the woman who had asked Keanu to observe the teen's behavior without announcing his visit. When he walked in, she looked up, and her eyes narrowed, immediately reading his face. "You found something," she said flatly. Keanu sat down. Quietly, "They turn away someone brilliant," he said, "for the wrong reasons." Naomi leaned back. "The girl in the blazer?" Keanu nodded. "Sasha Lin, Cal State, led a team in ethical AI, paid her way through college." Naomi's fingers stopped drumming. "Gina's team?" He raised an eyebrow. Naomi sighed. "Let me guess. Polished on the outside, rigid on the inside." He offered a half smile. "Something like that." She turned toward her screen, typing quickly. "Send me a resume," she said, already ahead of her. Keanu pulled it from his back pocket. Folded but unwrinkled. "It's right here." Meanwhile, Sasha sat alone on a bench outside the building. Her phone was in her lap. Her hands were shaking. She wasn't crying, but something inside her was unraveling, a quiet ache that every effort she made still wasn't enough. She opened her inbox out of habit, then paused. A new message. Subject: follow-up opportunity. From Naomi Park. Time: 5:42 p.m. Her breath caught in her throat. She opened it. "Hi, Sasha. I believe you were just in our offices. I'd like to speak with you directly. One-on-one. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. No panels. Just conversation. Let's see if we value the same things." Naomi Park, co-founder. Sasha covered her mouth. Not in shock. in relief. Back upstairs, Naomi looked at Keanu, who was now standing near the window. You know, she said, we bring in coaches all the time. Consultants, DI teams, culture advisors. Keanu looked out over the skyline, and yet they still miss it. She tilted her head. So what's the solution? He turned slightly, smiled faintly. Hire people who know what it feels like to be underestimated, and give them the power to build something better. It was 8:56 a.m. The lobby buzzed like it always did, stylized modern, echoing with the self-importance of rising professionals and curated coffee cups. But this time, Sasha Lin didn't wait in the corner. She stepped through the front doors in the same blazer, but something had changed. Her steps had purpose. Her shoulders were straight, and her eyes weren't looking for permission anymore. She walked past the receptionist. I'm here for Naomi Park. The woman looked up from her tablet, blinked, and quickly tapped a few keys. Floor 21, she said. She's expecting you. Upstairs, Naomi's office door opened. She greeted Sasha not with a handshake, but with a nod that said, I see you. They sat across from each other. No panel, no tension, just two professionals having a conversation. Naomi smiled. I read your project on AI bias. It was sharp, clean, and more thoughtful than most of the internal pitches I've seen. Sasha flushed. Thank you. I didn't think anyone actually read it. Most don't, Naomi said, but I'm not most people. Meanwhile, on the 17th floor, Gina, Jason, and Elliot were gathered around the espresso machine when Jason scrolled past a company-wide notification. His face dropped. Wait, what? Gina looked up, annoyed. What now? Jason turned his screen. New role announcement. Sasha Lin, Ethics and Emerging Technologies Consultant, Contract to Hire. Reporting directly to co-founder Naomi Park. Gina stared. She. Jason whistled low. You cut her. Elliot scratched his head. Guess someone saw what we didn't. Back in Naomi's office, Sasha listened as her new title was explained. It wasn't flashy, but it was real. A 6-month consultancy. Mentorship directly under Naomi. And freedom to propose a project that could shape the company's internal AI practices. Sasha blinked hard, trying to contain her emotion. Why me? She asked quietly. Naomi leaned back. Because someone I trust said, you don't teach people by breaking them. You lift them, and I figured it's time we lifted the right people. Downstairs, Keanu stood outside the building, sipping a quiet black coffee from a paper cup. He looked up just once toward the 21st floor, smiled, and walked away. No fanfare, no camera, no credit. Just the sound of the wind passing by someone who had already done enough. It was Wednesday at 2 p.m. The conference room on the 17th floor buzzed with soft conversation and the scent of overbrewed coffee. The team from Product and Ethics was preparing to review internal AI audits, something no one looked forward to, but everyone needed to address. Gina sat at the head of the table, flipping through a polished deck on her tablet, still projecting her usual confidence. Jason leaned back in his chair, yawning. Elliot scrolled his phone, just low enough to avoid being noticed, until the door opened, and in walked Sasha Lin, wearing the same blazer, carrying a slim laptop and a quiet presence. But this time, she wasn't interviewing. She was leading. The room paused. Jason blinked. Wait, she's the one presenting? Elliot sat up straighter. You gotta be kidding. Gina's face remained composed, but her jaw tightened. Sasha took her seat at the front, plugged in her laptop, and without greeting or delay, began. This audit reflects internal biases identified across 3 AI-driven hiring systems. We're not here to assign blame. We're here to build accountability. Her voice was calm, steady, too strong to interrupt. Slide after slide, she exposed quietly devastating findings. Language filters and resumes favoring affluent zip codes. Algorithms prioritizing cultural fit based on vague criteria. A pattern of dismissing candidates from state schools. Candidates like her, not opinion. Data. The room grew still. Even Jason wasn't smirking anymore. At one point, Sasha paused on a slide that showed anonymized transcripts of internal interviews, including a direct quote. She doesn't look ready. She didn't look up, didn't name names. She just let it sit in the room. When the presentation ended, Gina cleared her throat. Thank you. That was informative. Naomi, who had entered halfway through and stood quietly at the back, stepped forward. No, she said. That was necessary. Her eyes moved across the table. And from this point forward, Sasha would be consulting directly with hiring, onboarding, and ethics reviews. Any issues with that? Silence. No. Naomi smiled. Great. After the meeting, as chairs scraped and people dispersed, Sasha gathered her things. Jason lingered by the door. He looked at her almost sheepishly. Hey, for what it's worth, he scratched the back of his neck. You were right. Sasha didn't gloat, didn't smirk. She just looked him in the eye and said, I always was. It had been 2 weeks since Sasha's audit presentation. In that time, she'd received 3 internal meeting invites from teams who had once ignored her resume, and 2 invitations to lunch from managers now pretending they always saw the potential. She didn't hold grudges, but she did remember. On Thursday morning, Sasha arrived early to prep for a mentorship kickoff Naomi had quietly suggested, a peer-to-peer program for interns who weren't from top-tier schools. One of them waited nervously in the lobby, a girl named Rena, barely 19, gripping her tablet like it was a lifeline. Sasha walked up. You're Rena? The girl stood quickly. Why, yes. Sorry, I didn't want to be late. You're right on time, Sasha said, smiling. Come with me? In a quiet glass meeting room, they sat across from one another. Rena looked around at the clean lines and sharp suits outside the window like she didn't belong there. I've never worked somewhere like this, she said quietly. My whole school uses secondhand software. Sasha nodded. I know the feeling. Rena blinked. Wait, you didn't go to Stanford or something? Sasha smirked. Cal State Fullerton. 2 jobs. Worn-out shoes. Same blazer for 2 years. Rena's eyes widened. But you're like, she gestured vaguely, important now. Sasha chuckled. Only because someone reminded me that I already was, even before the title. Later that afternoon, Sasha walked Rena to the design team floor, where the intern would be shadowing. Before they parted, Rena hesitated. Can I ask you something? Of course. Rena looked down. Do you ever stop feeling like you don't belong? Sasha thought about it, then answered, No, but one day you stop waiting for someone else to give you permission. That night, in her apartment, Sasha opened her messages. There was a short new email. Subject, you did well. From unknown@domainmail.com. She opened it, saw the deck, read the audit, saw her speak today, too. Told you, one voice. That's all it takes to change the tone of a room. Kiar. Sasha smiled, then turned off her screen, and slept like someone who knew the storm had passed. Because now, she was a thunder. Monday morning arrived with clear skies and an unexpected meeting request. Naomi Park. Subject line, let's talk future. 9:30 a.m. sharp. Sasha entered the corner office, her stride steady. She no longer second-guessed her own steps, or her right to take them. Naomi gestured toward the seat opposite her, sliding a sleek folder across the desk. Inside, a formal full-time offer. Director of Emerging Ethics Initiatives. Full benefits. Leadership access. 6-figure salary. Sasha exhaled. It was everything she'd once dreamed of. Stability. Title. Proof she'd made it. But Naomi was watching her closely, as if she already knew something Sasha hadn't said out loud. It's yours, Naomi said, but I get the sense you're still thinking. Sasha looked up. Why me? Naomi leaned back. Because most people fix systems from within. But you change them. That evening, Sasha sat on a rooftop with a steaming cup of tea, staring out over the city's humming lights. She had the offer in her hand. She also had 5 DMs from junior developers across LinkedIn. 2 were women of color. 1 was trans. 1 had anxiety so bad He couldn't make it through most interviews. All of them had seen her story. All of them were asking, "How did you survive it? How did you get to the door? How can I?" Sasha stared at the screen, then at the offer letter, then back at the stars. The next morning, she walked into Naomi's office again, early, before anyone else had arrived. Naomi looked up from her laptop. "I'm not taking the offer," Sasha said. Naomi blinked. "You're not?" Sasha smiled, not with defiance, but clarity. "I'm starting something. A program. For students like me, the ones no one sees." Naomi leaned back slowly, then smiled. "Good," she said. "That's exactly what I hoped you'd say." Sasha laughed. "Wait, you wanted me to turn it down?" Naomi grinned. "I wanted you to choose your voice over a title." Sasha left the building lighter than she came in. She didn't feel like she was leaving something behind. She felt like she was stepping into something new. And across the city, at a quiet bookstore cafe, Keanu Reeves folded a newspaper closed. There on the back page, Tech Rising Star declined corporate role. Launches visibility initiative for underrepresented talent. He smiled, sipped his espresso, and whispered to no one, "There it is." Sasha's initiative launched fast. Faster than anyone expected. ClearPath, a program offering mentorship, training, and real-world experience for overlooked talent in tech. No barriers. No gatekeeping. No fake culture fit. In its first week, they had 200 signups. In the second, 1,300. And with them came resistance. By week 3, the backlash began. Anonymous posts on industry forums. Another charity case for diversity points. She only got famous because of a celebrity. Then came the emails. Some subtle, some venomous. The kind that start with just playing devil's advocate and end with maybe focus on real qualifications. Sasha read every one. She didn't respond, but she felt them in the quiet ache behind her eyes, in the tension in her shoulders that hadn't been there before. The tipping point came during a Q&A live stream. A young student, nervous, stuttering, asked, "What if they never see us? What if we don't look like what they want?" Sasha paused. The question hit too close. She opened her mouth, closed it, and then her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown contact. Just a name, Kiar, and a single line. "They don't have to see you first. You just have to keep showing up." Sasha looked up at the camera. She smiled softly, then said, "That's the trick, isn't it? You don't wait to be seen. You build your own window. And when it's strong enough, others climb through it too." After the stream, as she packed up cables and cord in the studio, her assistant approached. "There's someone downstairs asking to see you," she said. Didn't give a name. Sasha furrowed her brow. She walked into the lobby. And there, sitting casually on a bench beside a display of ClearPath's flyers, sipping a hot tea in jeans and a plain black hoodie, was Keanu Reeves. He looked up, smiled like they were old friends, and said, "Heard you were making something real." They sat across from each other in the small cafe corner inside Sasha's new co-working space. No cameras, no headlines, just two people, two teas, and the weight of their own paths. Sasha tried not to let the surreal moment get to her. Keanu Reeves, sitting across from her like this was just another Tuesday. But he wasn't here to flatter. He was here with something to say. He stirred his tea slowly, thoughtfully, then looked at her and asked, "You know what the hardest part is?" Sasha raised an eyebrow. "Of what?" "Of standing up," he said. "It's not the backlash, not the silence. It's the loneliness right before you speak." Sasha nodded slowly. "It's been louder lately. The voices that want me to bend, to make this easier, more palatable." Keanu smirked. "I tried to do that once. Years ago. Film set. Big name director. Someone was mistreating a younger crew member. Everyone saw it. No one said anything." He took a breath. "And neither did I." Sasha's eyes widened slightly. I told myself I wasn't senior enough yet. That I'd say something later. That I'd do better next time." He paused. "I did do better next time. But that first time, I never forgot it. He leaned forward. So when I saw you in that interview room, surrounded, dismissed, I knew exactly what I was watching, and I promised myself I wouldn't repeat the mistake. Sasha sat back, the words hitting deep. They stayed quiet for a while. Then Keanu asked, "You thinking of changing ClearPath?" Sasha hesitated. "Some partners want me to. They say I get more funding if I soften the mission, make it more broad, less pointed, less honest." Keanu said. She nodded. They want me to play the game. He leaned in, voice lower. Then build a new game, one where people like you don't have to wear armor just to show up. Outside, the sun broke through the cloud cover. Sasha watched it spill across the sidewalk. She looked at him. "You didn't save me, you know." He smiled. "Didn't need to. You were already standing. I just made sure someone saw it." 2 weeks later, Sasha sat in a glass-walled boardroom with a skyline view and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Across the table sat executives from Axion Global, one of the largest tech conglomerates in the world. They came dressed in precision. Italian suits, $8,000 watches, perfectly curated enthusiasm. "We're offering full acquisition," said the lead rep, a man named Cole. 7 figures. You stay on as public director. Same mission, just more reach. Sasha folded her hands. "You mean more control?" Cole smiled like a shark. "Guidance." Another executive added, "We love ClearPath. The narrative, the virality. It resonates with people who feel left out. People who feel left out." That sentence sat in the room like a bad taste. Sasha stayed silent. So Cole leaned in. "Let us carry the message. You'll have budget, power, protection." She looked down at the contract. Her name was already typed in bold. That night, Sasha sat alone at her apartment kitchen table. The watch Keanu once left for her, the one she never returned, lay beside her phone. Her inbox blinked with news alerts. ClearPath founder in talks with Axion Global. Diversity gets a corporate stamp. Reeves Link project may join big tech. She didn't open any of them. Her phone buzzed. One new message. From unknown@domainmail.com. Subject, just one thought. They'll offer you everything, except the space to stay honest. Ask yourself, would they still want you if you didn't bring the headlines? Kiar. She read it again, then picked up the contract, ripped it in half, and smiled. The next morning, she posted one line on ClearPath's site. ClearPath will remain independent, because the people we serve already know what it means to be owned. It went viral in under an hour. Later that day, Rena, the intern Sasha had once mentored, knocked on her office door. "You saw it?" Sasha asked. Rena nodded, holding back tears. "You said no, even when it was everything." Sasha leaned back. "I'd rather build something real than be paid to pretend." The conference hall was electric. Thousands filled the seats, most of them first-time attendees, students, junior tech workers, community leaders, dreamers. The screen above the stage simply read, ClearPath, building what was missing. Backstage, Sasha stood with her mic in hand, heartbeat steady. Not because she wasn't nervous, because she belonged here now. Not because someone finally let her in, but because she kicked down the door and held it open for the rest. A crew member gave her the cue. The lights dimmed. Music faded. She walked onto stage. The applause hit like a wave, not for celebrity, but for recognition. She stood in the spotlight, took a breath, then spoke. "A few years ago, I sat in a cold interview room and realized that silence has a shape. It's in the way people look past you, the way they smile without listening. It's in the quiet suggestions to be more palatable, less disruptive, more professional. But I also learned something else. Silence can be a space to stand, and when one person stands, others realize they can too." The room was silent, listening, truly listening. Afterward, a long line formed to meet her. Students, parents, educators, people who had never felt invited into a world that now had room for them. Near the end of the line, a girl no older than 16 waited patiently. She wore a borrowed blazer and shoes too big. Sasha recognized the look immediately. When the girl stepped forward, she didn't say a word. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small silver pocket watch. Worn. Familiar. Sasha froze. "A man gave this to my brother," the girl said. "He told him to hold it until he met someone who needed it more." She placed it in Sasha's hand. "I think he meant you." Sasha looked down. The inscription, still etched in the soft curve of the lid. "The moment you decide to lift others is the moment you've arrived." Her breath caught. She looked toward the back of the hall, and through the crowd, she saw Keanu, not on stage, not in a seat of honor, just leaning by the exit, watching, and when their eyes met, he nodded once, then turned and slipped into the crowd. End arrow the end. Thanks for watching. Speech balloon, have you ever been underestimated, but chose to rise anyway? Busts in silhouette who gave you your moment, and who will you pass it on to? Drop it in the comments, because every legacy starts with someone who says, "I see you, now stand."